So if you are unlicensed, okay, how many are going into orientation, do you know? Okay, so you know which guests are going into orientation. If they're going into orientation, welcome back in the conference room. Let's give our visitors a huge round of applause. Unlicensed people, we're still going to do a class. It's not going to be. It's going to be an abbreviated version of the class. So we're really just going to go through the first couple chapters with them, and do an introduction until we break. All right. So anybody that's not licensed, you can follow. So let's get those people around.
Birthday today? Yeah. Alright, yeah. Birthday, Shondell on 3. 1, 2, 3. Alright, so we're going to do top turnout. For those of you guys who don't know, you know, what top turnout is, maybe it's the first time in training. Top turnout is the leadership award, okay? Primerica is not designed to build producers. That's what other financial services companies do. They want you to go out and find clients, right? So Morgan Stanley hires you, you go out there, you find them clients. Those clients are not your clients, they're the company's clients, and you only make money when you find a client, yet Mr. Morgan and Mr. Stanley, they make money for doing nothing. They hire people, the people go out, they go find the clients. The people who find the clients have no ownership, it's just a job, right? And a lot of times when you leave, sometimes you can take your book of business, but a lot of times you have to leave it with the firm, okay? So when I came into Primerica, they told me, this is what my best friend told me when I came in, he said, hey, you can go work for Morgan Stanley and you can find clients, or you can come to Primerica and you can be Morgan Stanley and you can hire people that will go out and find clients and you can have your own business. And I thought to myself, what's better, me going out and finding clients for the rest of my life, or one day being like Mr. Morgan and Mr. Stanley, who haven't found a client in 100 years, but they make billions of dollars, and I can hire people to go do that for me. It's a better way to make money. It's a better way to live. It's a way to have ownership. So, you know, people think that a lot of times recruiting is weird, but in their life, they're getting recruited. That's the funny part. That's the funny part. Someone comes up to them and says, hey, would you like a job? Let me see your resume. I think you're worth $80,000 a year. And they think that's completely normal. But once you give them the opportunity to say, hey, come into my business and you can make $80,000 a year, $100,000 a year, when you are offering it to someone else, that makes it weird. But someone can offer you all day and you'll take that opportunity to be at the bottom, but when someone gives you the opportunity to be at the top, now all of a sudden it's weird.
Right. Right.
Is that funny? Hey, you can work for me, you can make money for me, you can stay in the same spot forever, you can never have ownership, you'll always be at the bottom. Okay. Hey, you can have ownership, you can be the guy at the top, you can be the girl at the top, you can run your own business, you can have people working for you. No, that's weird.
Right?
What percentage of people are entrepreneurs? 5%. Of course everybody thinks it's weird, because only 5% of people speak this language. My friends who run businesses, if I go to them and I say, I would never hire anyone, they think I'm weird. So if you don't want to hire, business owners think you're weird. If you do want to hire, employees think you're weird. I'd rather have employees think I'm weird. Right? So what we do on Saturday morning is we celebrate and recognize the people that understand this concept and want to build a team and are on their way to becoming regional vice president. You can be the most talented person in the world, but no great person has done anything on their own. Everybody has a team around them, right? Bill Gates is no longer the best programmer at Microsoft. Apple still comes out with great products. The founder is no longer here, right? They say behind every great man, there's a great woman. Great. Yes, woman. Right? So there are no, there's no do-it-yourselfers that are building billion-dollar companies, $100 million companies. It always requires a team. You know, Coca-Cola, it passed through several different hands before it became successful, but the people who put the right team around that concept, they're the ones who made the money, right? They say Bill Gates didn't really invent what he became famous for and rich for. He got that idea from somebody else. We know the story of the McDonald's brothers. They were making $1 million, if that. They wanted to sell the business for $1 million. Now someone else has turned someone else's idea into the most successful business in history. Is it about the product? Is it about the idea? Is it about the one person? No, it's about the team that you surround around that idea, right? We look for team builders. That's what Primerica taught me. School was teaching me how to be the most talented. Primerica taught me how to hire the most talented. And who's making the most? The most talented or the ones hiring the most talented?
Hiring.
right? Hey, LeBron James is great. Last time I checked, the owner, Dan Gilbert, of the Cavs, makes a lot more money, will make a lot more money, and have a longer career than the best basketball player, and I don't even know if he can shoot a ball. This is a mindset. It's a mindset. When I first came in, my mom said, "Are you brainwashing people?" I was like, their brain needs washing. Their brain needs washing. Because somebody told them it was normal to work for the rest of your life and maybe retire and have a boss and be told what to do and what you're worth and have no ownership and be middle class forever. That's people's normal, right? You do need some brainwashing, right? So this is the stuff we like to talk about. This is stuff that we like to teach our agents and people that come in. But if you really believe this stuff, you are going to be transferring these beliefs to other people, and the way we recognize that is through our Top Turnout Award. So we'll go ahead and do that. And today's a special day. I mean, people who are coming in the weather, I know it's going to be, you know, an inch or whatever it is, big deal, but I understand that, you know, this is a more committed group. So we don't have as many as we usually have, but there's still a great group here. We want to recognize people who got their teams out here. So if you're below district, go ahead and stand up. If you don't know what that means, that's you. Get some exercise. Below district. Or is it district? Yeah. All right, district. All right. So if you got one other person outside of you, stay standing. All right. So these are teams of 2 or more. Let's go 3, including yourself. 3, including yourself. 4. 5. Good job, Nick. You're still standing at 5. Okay, now 6. How many you got? Both. Okay, so both of you have 5. So they're tied at 5. Give it up 4. These guys. All right, division, stand up. We'll start at 3, 4, only 1, 2. 5, 6, 7, 8. 8. Get up for Calvin. You guys Alice's parents? Yeah?
Yes.
Thanks for coming today. Should I tone it down for you guys?
No, love it.
Very, very, very appreciative of parents coming to check this out. I want to go over, as you guys know, last month I made $30,000. The month before that, I made $33,000, and this month my goal is to make $40,000. You can't, I'm not as big as Shaquille in the sense that he has a hierarchy. You know, one time, Jim Penn, we went up to, if you listen to his audios back there, we were just obsessed with this guy. We'd never met him before. And so we went up to New Jersey and we met him, and he had us sitting in a room, and he said something I'll never forget. He said, "You have real freedom when you have an RVP team." Okay, so I don't have that yet. Shaq has that. He can put, you know, several people in a room, and he can have a meeting of RVPs that he's developed that are under him. That's real freedom, because he's getting compensated on, what did Ian Pruckner say, entrepreneurs that are chasing their dreams. You can't. RVPs are here forever, right? So whether Shaq's here and he's gone, and his wife has a business, doesn't matter. Those RVPs are going to keep working. He's going to have passive income forever. So that's a different level of income. Me, I have a base shop. I have a couple people, but I've learned how to be a producer, help people build wealth, and you can't make money like that unless you really get involved in the securities aspect of our business, the investment aspect of our business. And this brochure here, whenever I train new securities license, whenever I go in the field with people, I go through this brochure called the ICA Guide. You guys have heard this many, many, many times. We've been doing this for 10 years. They update the brochure every single year. But I always tell people after this presentation that this little booklet that I didn't create, the company sends us for free, someone taught me how to go over, has made me and my clients so much money, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, okay? Here's the thing. Self-employed people that work for themselves, like surgeons and lawyers and things like that, they like complexity, right? They want to sound the smartest, they want to be the smartest, and they want to be the best, and they want to be the #1 person forever, because that's how self-employed people make money, right? You want to look up what's the best lawyer, and then that guy has the right to charge a higher hourly fee. But the thing is that in order for that person to maintain that status, right, they have to keep getting better, better, better. The only way they make money is when they work, right? And because they're so smart and everything is so complex, it's hard for them to teach anyone else to do it, nor will they ever, because they're perfectionists by nature. Does that make sense? And that's not a bad thing. I want my brain surgeon to be a perfectionist, right? I'm not tripping on whether he has a business or whether he's duplicating. I don't care, right? I want the best person for that. Matter of fact, my tax guy, all these people, right? But in our business, we run a business where we take very complex concepts, but we simplify them. Does that make sense? So the better financial advisors nowadays are not the ones who are just throwing words out there and concepts out there and graphs out there and numbers out there to make themselves sound smart. What we're the middle people, okay? Because there's the clients who have they have a low comprehension of these types of terms and concepts. Then there's the experts, the people that probably write these brochures, and they're actually touching the money that we invest. We don't touch it, right? We're not actually handling the money. And we're the people in the middle that are translating the language from the experts to the clients, okay? But if you try to sound like an expert, that's a self-employed mindset. You're not really going to get as many clients, because most people are not going to understand what you're talking about. So simplifying complex things, that's what I feel I'm good at, and that's how you can duplicate yourself and create other advisors. Because maybe I can become 10 times better than I am right now at this stuff, but what's more valuable? Me being good enough for clients, or me being the best? If I'm the best and I can't duplicate myself, how many clients can I help in a lifetime? But if I'm good enough for clients, and I'm helping them, and I can duplicate myself 100 times, now I can be 100 places at one time. Does that make sense? And that's why McDonald's doesn't have chicken parmesan, right? Because they need something that's very simple, very duplicatable, that they can recreate and copy over and over in 40,000 locations. And that's why they're successful, right? So the ICA Guide is an introduction to a couple different things. One thing, it's an introduction to American funds, which is this office here. We're always going to tell you that this is our fund company of choice. Not because they pay us more, the compensation is the same no matter what company you choose. Not because they incentivize us with nice trips or anything like that. They actually give us nothing. That's how they keep their expenses low. They pride themselves on low fees, and there's absolutely no perks for the advisors. The reason we use American Funds is because they have the best funds, the best management philosophy, the best returns, the lowest fees. And this is how we came upon American Funds. When we first came into Primerica, I've been here for a long time, we were a part of Citigroup, which owned Smith Barney. And so I was taught that Smith Barney was the best, and I was a very new advisor, so I would go in and I would present Smith Barney. And I noticed that there was one fund company that I could never beat. I couldn't beat their fees, I couldn't beat their return, and I never moved people out of money that's performing better than what I have to offer them, okay? And I thought to myself, if this is the one company that I can't beat, why don't I represent them as well? Why don't I offer this to my clients? And now I never lose. I never lose. It's impossible to beat American Funds, right? So we're going to talk today about what makes American Funds great, what makes them unique, but also it's a brochure that shows people how investments work, how mutual funds work, how you can build wealth over time, how you can manage risk. All of these things are in one brochure, and it creates the right expectations for the client. If you're going in there, which in the very beginning I used to sell on returns. I would say, well, we've done this much, right? And the problem with that is that new investors or investors that aren't very educated, they're going to expect those returns forever. And although we want to do well over a period of time, which we're going to talk about, on an annual basis, things go up, things go down, to create the proper expectations. So we're not misleading people. And there's so many different things that this brochure does. And I want to go through some of the highlights today. Hopefully you'll learn something. And if you have a securities license, obviously you should have a bunch of these in your briefcase. And if you don't have a securities license, this is what you're going to be learning. This is what you're going to have access to when you go and you sit down with clients, okay? One of the things that I talk about is that American Funds they have $1.5 trillion under management. This is for the people who say, well, what happens if this company goes, they have a $1.5 trillion. T. Oh, Bernie Madoff. Are you serious? That dude had 50 billion. That's a lot of money, and it's unfortunate what happened. This is in a different stratosphere. That's right. T, trillion. When do you ever hear that number, other than when we're talking about the national debt? Usually other than that, you don't hear that word. They have as much money as Fidelity. Now that's one that everybody knows, right? Why? Because they have commercials. This company, American Funds, has as much money under management. Stephen, do you know what under management means?
Meaning that they're
overseeing that much of clients' assets, right? They have as much money as Fidelity under management, yet they don't advertise. Now, I don't watch a lot of TV, but I do watch sports, and there's a Fidelity commercial every single break. So how is that, Mr. and Mrs. Client, that a company can have just as much under management as Fidelity with no commercials, no advertising, because of their performance and reputation? That's how they get so much money. They have been around for 83 years, almost 100 years. Out of the top 15 largest mutual funds in the world, which there's probably 10,000, out of the top 15 largest, 7 are from American Funds. So they have the largest mutual funds. These are pots of money that are over 100 billion. And all of that money is just among about 30 funds that they have. They don't have 200 like Fidelity, right? They have 30 funds, and I can market Mr. and Mrs. Client any fund family I want for the most part. I choose American funds because it doesn't matter what stage of life someone is in. We can find an appropriate scenario for any person, no matter what stage they're in. And that's important because you're going to change stages, and your needs are going to change, and your risk tolerance is going to change. And I don't want to have to move you in and out of fund families because that's going to cost you money. We're just going to be able to navigate within American funds and hit your goals well up until and through retirement. So, want to scroll? Let me go up real quick. Let's talk about this.
With one more.
You want before, I think? Before that? Right, they're talking about here, 1934, 1980, 2016, right? Postage stamp used to be 3 cents, then 15 cents, now about 50 cents. Right? Loaf of bread, 7 cents, 52 cents, $1.36. Average car, 1,400, 6,200, now 33,000. Okay? Average single family home, 6,000, then 62,000, now 233,000. Things are getting more expensive over time. Right? This is called inflation. So as things are getting more expensive, are your assets growing at a faster rate? See, if your money is not invested properly, and in 1980 you had 200,000, and 2016 is the same 200,000, the problem is the rest of the world, everything you're buying has gotten more expensive, but your money's the same. So people always ask, what's the risk in investing? Yeah, we'll talk about that risk. That's what this whole thing is about. But what's the risk not investing? That you're never going to reach your goals. That you're going to run out of money. That you may have to work forever. There's also a risk in not investing. So actually, investing is a must. You have to. You know, one of the cliches in finance is that you work so hard for your money, you got to get your money working hard for you. Now, this doesn't happen every year, but this year, there are certain funds that I'm in, my own personal funds, and for many of my clients, 27, 28%, right? If you got 100 grand in an account, you got 28%, your money made you $28,000. That's $2,500 a month that your money's making you. That's what it means, your money working hard for you. Let's go next. So, if our money's in the bank, what do we know? There's no fluctuation. Okay? We're not gonna see our money go below principal. But we're also not gonna see much growth either. Average rate in the bank right now on a checking account, what is it? 0.25%? 0.25% maybe? You get into a CD, maybe 1%, 2%, I don't know, right? So we have to get outside of a bank in order to hit our goals. So we have things like stocks and we have things like bonds. These are instruments we can use to achieve a higher rate of return. So sometimes I explain this, depending on if I have a trainee with me, I'll explain to the client. And although the client may know these things, hearing it explained from a professional sometimes helps them understand even better, okay? So I'll tell them, look, we have stocks, we have bonds, and Mr. and Mrs. Client, I'm sure you know this, but I'm just saying this for Steven so he can get training, right? But really, I'm saying it for them too. And I say, you know, what is a stock? A stock is a unit of ownership. A unit of ownership. So when you invest in a company, you get one share. That share is a unit of ownership, and now you are the owner of this great company. One of the owners. Now you're 1/1000%, but you're still an owner, right? You have a small piece of that pie. So in a stock, you're an owner. In a bond, you're a loaner. You're loaning someone money. You're loaning a corporation money. You're loaning the government money. You're loaning a county money. And they are going to pay you back with an interest rate depending on their creditworthiness. So there's some companies out there, they're not that strong. If you let them borrow money, right, they'll give you a certificate, in a sense. And if they don't have good credit, then you're going to charge them higher interest. But if you lend the federal government money, the idea is they have good credit, and that's going to be a very low interest rate. So then you have treasury bonds, government bonds. So you can be an owner and you can be a loaner. Usually it's better to be an owner, but those are the two ways that we can invest. But here's the thing. We can use these things, these instruments, to get a higher rate of return, but anytime we leave the bank and we get into a market, we are going to incur risk. And here's the thing that I want to talk to you guys about today, Mr. and Mrs. Client, is that there's no way to avoid risk, but there are ways to manage risk. Just like when you get in the car, you can't control if someone's out there driving crazy and they hit you head on. There's not much you can do about that. But generally, when you drive, what are the different ways that you manage risk? You wear your seatbelt, you drive, the speed limit, you abide by traffic signals, you stop at red lights, you stop at stop signs. So that's how you manage risk in the car. Now, are there people out there that are reckless on the road? Yes. And there's people that are reckless in the market too. You may hear about these horror stories, but you're not going to be like that. We're going to help you manage risk. So how do you wear your seatbelt in the stock market? Let's talk about that. The first way that we manage risk is what we call diversification. Diversification. So you own several different companies across several different industries. Several different companies. In this particular mutual fund here, which we call the Investment Company of America, this is just 75 of the 150 companies that you're going to own by investing in this fund. How do you diversify? By putting your money in a mutual fund. A mutual fund is a basket of stocks, a basket of companies, over 100 companies, and it's mutually funded. Just like at church, right? If we pass around a plate and everyone puts money in, by the time it gets to the back, it's mutually funded by a lot of people. See, if you wanted true diversification on your own, it would take about $1 million to buy this many companies. Right? Some of the share prices in these companies are $100,000 for one share. So what they did was they created mutual funds, and it gave middle-income people a cost-effective way to diversify and get into the market safely. And it's mutually funded. And someone can put in 100, and someone can put in 5,000, and someone can put in 500,000, and your neighbor can put in 5 million. But we're all going to achieve the same rate of return. But you choose how much you want to put in. So these are mutually funded. If you put $1 in, that dollar is going to go in 100 different companies. Now, the question that most people ask me is, can my money go to zero? That's what a new investor is going to ask. How much risk is there? Can my money go to zero? Well, let me look at this. In my fund here, I have Microsoft, just in this column here. I have Microsoft, I have Exxon, I have Coca-Cola, right? I have Wells Fargo. You got Fox, Kraft, AT&T. let me ask you this, okay? If Fox goes out of business, does that mean you also close your Wells Fargo account? Right? If Wells Fargo goes out of business, does that mean that you stop using your AT&T cell phone? Stop drinking Pepsi? So what are the chances that all of these companies go under at the same time? It's almost impossible, right? And if they did, we'd have bigger problems in your retirement, right? These are great American companies that you have ownership in. One of the things I talk about, not with everybody, but several different companies across industries. So there's different types of mutual funds. Therese, someone can buy a tech fund. Someone else can buy an energy fund. So these are sector funds where you do have 100 companies and it's diversified, but it's all in the same sector. The problem with that, when you do sector investing, is that sectors can literally go under just like a stock can go under. So we believe in truly diversifying, which means you're across several different industries. If one sector does go under, you're protected by having your money in several different sectors. So that's the first way that we help you manage risk, is with diversification. The next way is with professional management. This is the second way that we help you manage risk. Professional management. I consider myself knowledgeable, intelligent, experienced, but the people who actually manage mutual funds, we call them portfolio managers, portfolio counselors, these are the best stock pickers in the world. It doesn't matter what that guy you know in Tyson's Corner, your coworker, how much you think people read up on investments. These are the people that are writing those articles. They have, look at the years of anything that you're nervous about, they've been through it in the industry. 20 years, 25 years, 30 years of experience. They went to the best schools. They have teams of analysts. Before they buy a company, they go to the country and they talk to the CEO. They have access that most people don't have. When I went to American Fund's headquarters, they said, we meet with CEOs that only do one meeting a year. One meeting a year, but they'll do a second meeting just for American Funds. Why? Because when you have $1.4 trillion, you invest in a company, you're bringing, right, a good amount of money. When they invest in a company, they become one of the top shareholders. They have access. So these are the best people in the world. And on top of that, American Funds, like other funds, doesn't say we'll have one portfolio manager. They have a team, a multiple portfolio counselor system, where they say, hey, this is a big pot of money. There's, we can go up here. Okay, we have $100 billion. Every other fund is going to have one manager making all the decisions. American Fund says, why would we do that? Why don't we have 8 managers and give everybody equal responsibility and an equal piece of that $100 billion? Every one of those managers specializes actually in different things. Some specialize in financials, other medical, other technology, other real estate. It's a very unique way to manage. Because in other funds, there used to be a story we used to tell back in the day, and some older clients might remember this. There used to be something called the Magellan Fund. Fidelity had the Magellan Fund, and that was managed by Peter Lynch, and he will go down as the best portfolio manager that ever lived. He was averaging for 20 years almost 20% a year. Unbelievable. Now, when he left, okay, what do you think happened to the returns? Right? Michael Jordan has now retired. Right? The coach has left the team. However you want to look at it, and they're subpar returns now. But people still see the title and they remember, oh, the Magellan Fund. The Magellan Fund is no longer the Magellan Fund once Peter Lynch left. So when you go to other funds and you have one manager managing your money, what if that person dies? What if that person retires? What if that person quits? What if that person goes to another company? What if that person is just going through a divorce? Something bad is going to affect your money. And think about how much responsibility that is for one or maybe two people when two people have to know what's going on with 150 different companies. But if we can take that responsibility and divide it equally amongst these 8 people, there's less to manage, there's more to focus on, and we're going to get more quality ideas. Because if I can have one person and you're responsible for choosing 100 of the right companies to put in my portfolio, you have to come up with 100 good ideas. But if I have 8 people, we only have to come up with maybe 12 good ideas each. I always tell my clients, someone's 99th best idea is no longer a good idea, right? We're going to get more quality ideas by getting 10 to 12 from everybody. Now, if we look at this, if Don decides that he wants to leave, that's only one piece, one person that leaves. It's not going to affect the rate of return going forward. If Don leaves, we take his assets and we disperse it amongst everybody else. If the fund gets too big, you know what? We'll add someone else. Do you know that most portfolio managers in the industry, they're bonused on a 1-year return? So as they get to the end of the year, if they haven't hit their goals, they're going to try to hit a home run with your money. Sometimes they strike out. They are not under that type of pressure. They get paid based on a 4-year rolling average. So they're going to make great decisions for the long term. We always used to say, what if you had to get a first down every play? No, you get 4 downs, right? You can inch forward. Very unique for the industry, okay? Professional management. And the next way that we help you manage risk, so we said diversification, professional management, and the last way that we help you manage risk is with time. See, what do we know about the market? It goes up and down. Everybody knows that. That's why most people are scared. But if you look at the history, the 83-year history, yes, it goes up and down, but it goes up and down while going up. So over time, we know the market goes up. And sometimes you sit with overly skeptical people, and it's they always maybe they watch too much news, maybe they just have a negative outlook on life in general, but they say, oh well, this time is different, or this is what's coming, or what if this happens, or what if that happens? Like, dude, you're living in America. This is the most resilient economy. We have the most creative brains in the world. Everybody wants to come here. We're never going to be down for too long. This is the kind of stuff I say to people. Because, wherever you came from, right, whatever country you came from, you came here for a reason. Because you believe, whether you're willing to say it right now, that America is the best place to live, and we're always going to be moving up. And now you're sitting here telling me, yeah, but that was in the past, and maybe now. No, it's always going to go up over time. That's just a personal belief. That has nothing to do with their investments, okay? So we can't really see it right now, but with a client, it looks amazing. See, every one of these boxes down here, that's good that you brought the whole thing up. I'm going to see it on the PowerPoint. So since 1934, okay, this fund has been around since 1934 for 83 years. And down at the bottom, you can see every year's performance. Now, sometimes you see, Thomas, you want to go to the next one, right? I mean, it just goes on and on. It's a long thing that folds out when you show them the brochure. Look at this. We had a 22-year run of positive returns. So even right now, even me, I'm telling my clients, look, I know it's been good for 9 years, but what goes up must come down, But there was a time where it went up our fund went up for 22 years in a row. If someone had made a $10,000 investment back in 1934, today it would be worth $123 million. So from 10,000 to 120 million. The fund has averaged 12% since 1934 through the Great Depression and everything. It's an average, okay? When we look down at the actual returns, it's never actually 12%, it's just an average, okay? Now, if there was a way for him to bring up, the entire graph, and you looked at down below and you saw blue boxes and red boxes, what do you see more of? Of course, blue, right? So what we've seen is that about 15 of the 83 years were down years. So Kelvin, if I told you on average, out of every 6 years, 5 will be up, 1 will be down, can you handle that? Okay. Expectations. It's not always going to go up, but it's not always going to be down, and when it's down, it won't be down for long. Okay? So one other thing that I like to point out in here, I say, look, anytime you see a negative, after that, you see a positive. And not just a small positive, a big positive. And this is something that you guys should understand as well, because we may very well go into a recession. I hope not, but if it happens, or if the market crashes or goes down, there's different ways to look at it, right? -4, -14, client's upset, but then we get 26 plus 9, right? We go on another rally. -34, client's upset, plus 27, plus 10. -1, plus 15, plus 32, plus 12. -4, plus 14. So it's usually a big plus after a minus. Most people that don't have advisors, that are uneducated when it comes to investments, when their money goes down, they're thinking what? Pull out. Think about this. If you owned a home that was worth $500,000, the real estate market went down, which it happened and it'll happen again. If your home went, the value, you live there, it's $500,000, it goes down to $300,000, would you be like, okay, time to sell the home? No, you would say, hey, I gotta live here anyways, let it just recover, and it will recover. Every market recovers. It's the same thing in the stock market. You gotta retire anyways, you gotta have your money somewhere, just leave it where it is, and eventually it's going to recover. So we have a 2-year track record of recovering back to original balance. That's our average. 2 years, your money will be back to where it was. Let's go next. This one here, okay? In any 1 year, if you invested in American funds, in any 1 year that you choose, if you took your money, put it in, and took it out, which I never recommend. I don't even like taking people's money that's going to be in even 5 years. I like 10 years or longer, and this is why. See, if you take your money, you dip your toe in, and then you come out 34% of the time, 66% of the time you made money, 34% of the time you were negative. If you came in for just 1 year, any 1 year you choose. Now, any 3-year period, so if you take any 3 years next to each other, you slide it, right? If you kept your money in for 3 years, you had an 86% chance of making money based on history. When we go to 5 years, now you have, you're being more of a responsible investor, you're keeping your money in, you're being patient, 92% of the time you make money. So what is this telling us? The longer we keep our money in, the lower the risk. And then when you look at 10-year periods, right, we've never had a negative 10-year period. So people say, how risky is investing? My question is, how much time do you have? If you have more than 10 years, now I can't legally guarantee this, but history shows that you are eliminating risk when you stay in for 10 years or more. And I always tell people that mutual funds and the type of investing that I recommend to client is nest egg investing. What's a nest egg? Long term. College savings, 10 years or more. Retirement, 10 years or more. If you are buying a house in 6 months and you have $50,000 and you want to know where you should put it, I'm just going to tell you to put it in the bank. I have no advice for you. I don't do that type of investing. If you say, hey man, people are making so much money in the individual stock market and Bitcoin and all that, I'm not your guy. By the way, if you have a license, you are not allowed to advise anyone on Bitcoin. Do not do that. Okay? Regardless of what you think about it, Of course, I get 100 calls a day about this. I'm not allowed to advise you on that. Okay? Let's go next. So this is the last thing that I leave the clients with. Want to go get your chest? So sometimes we can use a hypothetical, graph that we create on our own that's customized for the client. There's actually one built right into the ICA guide, okay, this brochure. So let's say that Bob and Kathy are a little bit behind for retirement. They have 15 years until they retire. So let's say they're 50 years old and want to retire at 65. They're a little bit behind, so they're going to be aggressive and they're going to put $1,000 a month into this fund. $1,000 a month is $12,000 a year. So we put in $12,000 a year into this fund. After 15 years, they want to retire. They've put in $180,000, but their balance is $600,000 because of the return of the fund. Now, when you retire, right, you've now gone through the accumulation phase. You're going up the mountain. Then when you get to the top of the mountain, you're going down the mountain. We call this the withdrawal phase. You can see no more investments. Now we're actually taking money out, the accumulation phase. So if you want your money to last, Mr. and Mrs. Client, you have to be on a systematic withdrawal plan. What that means is that you take a set percentage of your assets on an annual basis, depending on how much you have, right? So in the beginning, when you had $600,000, we put you on a 5% withdrawal, which is what advisors recommend, 5% a year, okay? And we did that for 20 years. Now, when you have 600 grand, you get $30,000 a year, because that's 5%. That's $2,500 a month. People say, well, that's not a lot of money. Well, if you work for the government and you make 100 grand a year and you work for 30 years, that's exactly how much you're going to get. Here, you invested $1,000 a month for 15 years. Your government pension after working 30 years of making 100 grand is going to be exactly the same. And what's funny to me is a lot of employees don't realize you are paying into that pension. They take a couple % out of every paycheck. So you pay for it also, right? So it is what it is. You have your 30 grand. Hopefully you have some Social Security. Hopefully you have some other assets, or you're going to try to survive on 30 grand. But either way, it was only 15 years of investing, okay? You take out 30. Now, what's happening to the balance? It's going up. So your 5%, you're actually getting a raise. And some years it goes up, and some years it goes down based on market performance. But you retired with 6. After 10 years, it went up to $1 million, and you've been taking money out the whole time. These are actual numbers. At the end of 20 years, we still only put in, if we can go to the bottom here, we still only put in 180. We've taken out 873, and our balance today is 1.1. If we can go back up to that 180, right? But you know what this takes? It takes patience. It takes consistency. It takes time, all of which most people don't have. They don't have patience. They don't show consistency. That's what I'm here for. I want to be your coach. I want to be your advisor. I want to be your accountability partner. I want to make sure we stay on track. This is going to happen for your family if you follow this program. The one thing that can go wrong, though, and Shaq taught me this, and I heard him say it, and I say it, the one thing that can go wrong that can disrupt this is if, God forbid, you pass away early, but then it's going to happen for your spouse because the life insurance is going to make sure that happens. And that's why we have that conversation. Any questions? Now, I was in like presentation mode with you guys, and I threw in a lot of extras. That brochure takes me 7 minutes to go through, if that. 7-minute presentation. It doesn't matter if they have 500, 5,000, 500,000, $1 million, it works great. Right? Dante, you wrote over $1 million client with this exact brochure, these exact numbers. You gotta get that license. All right, give it up for Shaq.
little early today. All right, as we wrap up and we take our break and come back, were you able to?
Yeah, I'm doing it right now.
Oh, all right. So, you know, when I got involved with the company, I was working in corporate America. I'm sure a lot of you guys do that. I didn't like corporate America. I didn't like the environment. I didn't really like my coworkers. There was a couple people I liked, you know, that I got along with, but you know, I was working with, you know, so I was an accounting major and IT major in college. I was an accounting and IT major, and a long time ago, a company, Enron, had just gone under. I'm sure Samir talked about it in the ICA guide, and they went under, and there was all these big accounting scandals. WorldCom, UNet, all these companies, and so I'm the accountant. I have to go and I'm doing budgets. So I'm telling people that are the highest ranking military officials, the highest ranking scientists in terms of PhDs, making a lot of money. What I thought was a lot of money, you know, the executives at our company were making $185,000, $200,000 a year. So the company, because they were scared about all these accounting scandals, hired all these budgeters. And I have to go and tell these guys they can't spend this money. And if they're spending it, I have to get receipts and I have to do all these things. It was extremely demeaning work, and two, they treated us, it wasn't just me, it was everybody. Everybody that had the same position that I had, terribly. What do you want? What is this? What is that? It's your first job, you're walking in, excuse me, sir, you know, you're all like tail tucked, trying to kiss their freaking butt the whole time, and they're just rude, arrogant, and it was everybody, and they knew that. They would like tell us, well, look, you know, this is, you gotta kind of, you know, tiptoe a little bit and this and that, and so I hated it, and I got so sour to corporate America just in general. When I created my team here, and I started recruiting people and hiring people, I wanted to create a completely different feel and environment than in corporate America. Okay? So I wanted, whether it was, you know, stupid t-shirts that we wear, right? I wanted, whether it's how much we clap for people, how much recognition we give, right? I don't care. I wanted to be completely different, right? Whether it's the music, whatever it is, I just wanted to be, I wanted to do our own thing, right? And then you know, obviously, you know, as you learn more and you study other businesses and things like that, you realize like a lot of these companies, way before, like Apple, right? You see Apple, they do their own thing, right? Everybody tries to be like them, right? You know, the book you referred me to, Samir, you know, talks about that. What does it say about Apple?
That they don't even compete with anybody else, but they do their own thing, and everyone flots to them.
Right? Like who's Apple? Who's Team Apple? Raise your hand. Who's Team? Whatever, Samsung. We don't know who you are. Google phone. You can always tell because what? The Samsung commercials are going after Apple.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
This is not a button or whatever they say. It's like, yo, they're trying to copy Apple. Like in their commercials, Apple doesn't do that. Now, I'm not saying Apple's better or not better. Okay, it is better, but but you know, maybe the chip is not better. Maybe their pixelation on the camera is not better. Maybe the Samsung has better functionality. But I'll tell you what, all the companies go after Apple. That's 100% true. Their commercials, there's marketing, there's targeting, that's what they do. Bigger screens, this, that, you know, everything they're doing, even in the commercials, they say it. And so you realize that companies that kind of, you know, they don't, like our company, a lot of people have never heard of Primerica, but we're the largest company. We've been around 40 years. We're the largest financial services company. We have 129,000 representatives, right? We're the biggest term insurance provider. We have single-handedly taken down the insurance industry. They are shrinking every year. A company created by a high school teacher, we're doing something right. And now companies are trying to, mimic us, right? They're trying to go the millennial route in recruiting agents. They understand the woman market, the female market is an untapped market, right? They're trying to go into the minority markets. But look at us. We're just so far ahead, it's not even fun. And so, one thing I love about this, is you can change who you are here, right? And that's like, this time of year, I don't know why, it's just magical. That's my thinking, that's my theme, right? It's like, how am I going to get better in 2018? Right? Why are we here? Why are we coming here? We're fighting sometimes weather. Some of you, I left my kids this morning, and I left my wife this morning to come here to invest time. Some of you guys work jobs, and you work terrible jobs, no offense, but demanding jobs. You value your weekends. Some of you drive far. We got to cash in this year. And I'm not going to give you a cookie for driving far or leaving your family or making any sort of sacrifice. That's part of that's the toll. You got to pay it. That's the ante. If you want to see the cards, you got to pay it. But we have to make adjustments, and we have to do a couple things differently to have a great year in 2018. Because for me, the biggest thing for me was I wanted to change my life. I know it sounds really corny and nerdy and Pollyanna, but I had changed my life before, but I never had lasting change. I would do things, and I'd start, I just wouldn't finish. Right? I'd go do some exercise program for a week. I would read the opening flap of a book. Ooh, this is great. I feel motivated. I read the front and the back, and then sometimes the last page. I read it. I mean, the tricks that you play with yourself, man. And I got into Primerica, and me personally, right? And I mean, you guys know me, 14 years, I got $2 million saved up, no real debt, kids' college paid off, my wife doesn't work, and you guys know how I live. I normal house, modest car, nothing like that. But I'm a byproduct personally of this company, of Fast Start Schools, of mentorship, of self-improvement, of tons of audios, of sitting in all these meetings, hours and hours and hours, full-timer meetings, advanced trainings, conference calls, videos that I watch, all these things, just trying to chisel away and make an adjustment here, and then just completely, have lasting change, right? And so, I'm a big person of themes and events and things like that. So our 2018 theme, right? Because in our business, 2018 started in December, right? That's how we work. We work December to November, right? We don't wait for the new year. It already started. October and November are what they call the prime time fall months. It's the biggest time of the year. And then December is like where you get a jump on the competition. Okay? And so our 2018 theme is raise your standards. Okay? Raise your standards. And I'm just going to go through some quotes and some different things, and just to get us in the right mindset, and then we'll take a break to set appointments and stuff like that. And the only way to ever have lasting change is to actually raise your standard. Always remember that. Lasting, permanent change. When I say permanent, always remember with success, The rent is due every month, man. Right? And that's success in anything, right? It's not, you can't achieve permanent anything. You have to keep paying, right? Success with parenting, you got to pay every month. Right? Those kids, they're with you forever, right? Trust me. They keep finding their way home. I try to leave them, but they know where to go. Right? Marriage, right? This will be my 10th year of marriage, which I'm very proud of. The rent's due every month, man. You never own it. You got to rent. Right? You got to pay. That's just what it is. If you want to stay married, you want to have a good marriage, you got to pay every month, man. I can't be a husband 50% of the time. It doesn't work like that. I mean it. Raising your standards will take your life to a new level. Doing the same mediocre things on a daily basis will most definitely confine you to a life of conformity. You must step up your game on a daily basis in order for your life to change. And then I've got some quotes. If you want to change your life, you have to raise your standards. Tony Robbins. Raise your standards to create change. Key to success, change the status quo. Raise your standards. Anonymous. Never apologize for having high standards. People who really want to be in your life will rise up to meet them. Raise your standards and the universe will meet you there. Never lower your standards to fit in with other people. We only get what we believe that we deserve. Raise the bar. Raise your standards and you will receive a better outcome. Raise your standards and you will rise along with them. When you set standards and stick to them, there will be people in your life who will fall away. Let them. Raise your standards to exceed your expectations. The quality of a leader is reflected in the standards they set for themselves. Demand more from yourself on a daily basis to make your dreams a reality. Let your grind be a reflection of the standards that you have set for yourself. Refuse to lower your standards to accommodate those who refuse to raise theirs. Let your actions prove that you're committed to living life on a new level. Get rid of the people and the thoughts that confine you to an average existence. Raise your standards and aim for greatness. Love yourself enough to never lower your standards for anyone. Your actions and your words should always agree with each other. Don't say one thing, then do another. Okay, let me talk about a couple of these really quick. Okay. So, my son, right, which I talk about, you guys know, I talk about my kids a lot. Let me show you an example of standards and who you hang out with and who you spend time with and how it affects you subconsciously, subliminally. You don't even know that you're doing it. Okay? So, my son is smart, right? My son got his mom's brain. I'm smart too, but you know, for you guys that know my wife is on a whole nother level of, full scholarship student, Georgetown, law school, bar attorney, the whole deal. Brilliant, okay? Photographic memory, right? I told you a story that my son in kindergarten, he had about 20 kids, I think 18 kids in his class, and they had a birthday board, a wall with all the birthdays, Kelvin. He'd look at it for a couple minutes, and then he could repeat every single birthday. You'd ask him, oh, hey, when's Maurice's birthday? Oh, July 27th. I mean, he knew it all. This is how smart my son is. Right? So I'm smart, kind of intelligent, and my daddy blessed me with common sense, right? You realize it's not so common. Okay? But I had that. Okay? Well, my wife is smart on a whole nother level. So my son's like that. My son was reading at 18 months on his own. State capital, everything. I mean, everything. The teacher's like, no, he doesn't know how to read. When he was in preschool, like when the teachers was so shocked. He can't read. He just memorizes the book. So the Spanish teacher's like, no, he knows how to read. I trust me. And she'd write a word in Spanish and he could enunciate it. He didn't say it with that perfect accent, right? But he could say it. And they were like, whoa, right? I mean, he can read. So my son goes to school, and he gets really good grades. He'll never miss a question. The only question he'll miss is the bonus question on a quiz, on a test, because it's designed for you to miss. It's a trick question. Right? But he's always excellent, excellent, best grades. So look at this. So when I pick him up from school, I pick him up usually on the test days, Kelvin. When he comes, Fridays, after prayer, I go pick him up from school, and he gets off the bus, and he gets his grades, and that's the first thing I go, hey, how'd your quiz go? Because I give him money if he does fine. I give him a couple bucks, this and that, right? So my son is the smartest. He is. I mean, it's just a fact. He's that smart. I'm not bragging about me. I'm bragging about him. And the kids in my neighborhood, they're pretty smart too, but they're not as smart as him. And at first, Kelvin, he's really excited to show me his grades. Then after a while, he's not that excited because he's rubbing it in to the other kids because they're not getting the best grades. So he's a braggart. And even so, my $500,000 a year is not so impressive. Right? Standards, man. That's all it is. Like, it's so funny. Like, my son, he's freaking 8. He's actually 7. He'll be 8 in 3 months. You know, I mean, he's 7 years old, already getting this. He's feeling like he can't reach his potential because he doesn't want to he wants to embarrass his friends. Because they're lowering their standard. And I'm not saying, look, I get it. I'm not this crazy parent, you know. I'm not I see some of these parents, they're just insane, right? I'm not that, but I also understand. It's like, no, man, go be the best you can be. If that's what you want, that's what's driving you, that's why would you feel bad? And even me, I'm doing it too. I'm like, no, yeah, you're right. We're gonna make you feel bad. No, man, that's not how you get better. See, what happens when you start achieving something and you raise your standard, it's very hard to go back. I don't like cutting grass anymore. Right? I hate that. Some of you, if you like to do it, I'll pay you handsomely. Okay, that's your life's calling, and you want to do it, I will hook you up. Right? My wife doesn't like cleaning toilets anymore. I'm being honest. My mom, right? My mom and dad are old school. They'll never take money from me. You guys know that, right? You guys know my mom and dad. When I started making money, and my parents are okay. You know, my dad was a PhD. He made $100,000 a year. He has $1 million account. Lives very humbly, right? Never bought a new car in his entire life. And so, you know, when I started doing stuff, the stuff that I do is just wasteful, right? Why would you have somebody come clean the house? You guys can clean it. It's your house. You should do it. It's a bonding session between you and your wife. I wash my car. I definitely want my wife cleaning the toilet, okay? So my mom, my mom would never take money from me. And so, but once, at first it was once a month, and maybe every other week, I would get somebody to clean the house. Whatever, $150, $120, and do a deep cleaning, clean everything. And my mom's like, we don't need it. Why are you doing that? And they come over. And my mom, she's very social, right? So she likes to have a lot of parties and hang out and do stuff. And then so she, never wants to take money. She's like, hey, No, I'm just wondering what schedule. I just want to make sure. What do we have going on? And then she, I have to ask her, a bunch of times. She's like, well, I am thinking about having friends. It would be not mine. Right? I got it. Right? Because she doesn't want to go back. She doesn't want to go back to cleaning. Once you had something, it smells great, it looks great, they line the vacuum, there's lines on it, like a football field, it looks great. It's like you have to live in a hotel, it's awesome. It's like, why would you do it? Why would you do it? For $100 to go make money? That's a standard, I know. You got your priorities, okay, fine. All right, whatever, they're my standards, not yours. Right, but that's why you gotta make that decision this year to just raise them a little bit, man. Some people, if you smoke, right? They decide to stop smoking. That's raising a standard. That's what that is. That's a New Year's resolution. That's raising a standard. I'm going to eat healthier. I'm going to do this. I'm going to gain weight. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to drink more water. I'm going to read more. That's all raising a standard. That's all it is. You know, because low standards, it's not a good thing, right? I was just thinking about some things. I wrote down some things, right? Some people will eat anything. They'll eat anything. And I get cheat day, this and that, but you know, like, you know, probably should eat a little bit better, man. Like, you guys know I love fried chicken just as much as everybody, you know? Why am I looking at you? If I walked into my dealership and they had a tub and it smelled, I just ran. I didn't even get in my car and drive. I ran to Popeyes. The smell hits you. So I need a grape jelly. I need a couple biscuits. Fried chicken. No, that's not fried enough. I need it like straight fried. Get the sweet tea, put more sugar in there. Just like, all right, man, I'm gonna have a heart attack. Let's see if I can beat this today. I love eating terrible chicken. Right? Anybody like fried chicken? Yeah. I'm about to get it right now. I love it. I love hot sauce. Spicy. Can't do it. I have a plan. I'm on a plan, right, Kelvin? I'm on a program. I can't put that in my fitness pal. They'll eat anything, they'll drink anything, they'll go anywhere, they'll watch anything. They'll listen to anybody, follow anyone, wake up anytime, no morals, low expectations, spend anything without any regard or consequence. I'm never going to tell people how to live their life, okay? Because who am I, man? I'm nobody. I'm saying this for you. You set your own. That's the awesome thing about our company, right? You should probably watch what you eat. You probably shouldn't go anywhere. You probably shouldn't watch every single thing that comes on. I shouldn't date any person. Okay, have a standard. I'm being serious. I shouldn't wear anything. Listen to any person. Probably shouldn't follow everybody. You should probably have a time that you wake up. Have some morals. Have some expectations. Right? And I was reading something and said, and this was Tony Robbins, I was reading something that he wrote. He said, you'll raise your standards when you turn your shoulds into musts. I should read. No, I must read. I should pay off my debt. No, I must pay off my debt. You know, when you have all these things and you do all these things, everything you do affects your self-image. I'll always remember that. I'm not trying to get in some super self-improvement talk. Okay? But you act and perform accordingly to how you see yourself. Right? I mean, that's just what it is. You know, how you draw your confidence, how your posture is how valuable you see you to yourself, right? I mean, that's just what it is. And so, when you know that you can do something despite wanting to do it, right? Like, I'll read even if I know I'm tired. Right? By the way, reading is a sleeping pill. If you have trouble sleeping, just read. Just sleep. It's the greatest thing in the world. Right? If I know that I'm exhausted and I don't feel like working out, but I got to work out and I make myself do it, then I feel better, man. Not going there, not thinking about it, not thinking about that daunting task, but actually doing it, then I develop a little more confidence, a little bit more swagger, a little more edge. A little more. And that's all that I need, just that little confidence, man. My thinking's right, my energy's right. So when you turn your shoulds into musts, and I already talked about environment and people. And I mean, it was so clear when I saw that with my son. You know, some of you guys, unfortunately, you know, what do they say about, you know, you see all these athletes, right? And they make silly money. And you hear their coaches, right? I'm a big Michael Vick fan, right? And Michael Vick, obviously, he was twice in his career, because I went to Virginia Tech, I went with Michael Vick. I mean, he was there when I was there, so we all followed him. He went to the national championship, played Florida State. And twice in his career, he was the highest paid NFL player. Okay, so twice in his career, he did it with the Falcons, did it with the Eagles. And his coaches in the beginning, in his high school coach, when he had first gotten in trouble, because he got in a lot of trouble over his career. And they said he refused to cut his acquaintances that he had when he was a kid. And these were very negative influences. That's what he said. And how many times do we hear that about athletes that, you know, traditionally they may not come from the best backgrounds, not the best neighborhoods, and these parasites kind of attach to them as they make money, and they file bankruptcy, or they leech, or they have an entourage, or they get in trouble, and until they will cut the non-nutritional, right, friends, right, like Kelvin, like you can't, Kelvin tell you can't eat white rice, can't eat white bread, can't eat white sugar, right? These are non-nutritional things. We have non-nutritional people in our life. Who are we spending time with, man? People that, if you're doing better, if you're reading, if you're getting up, if you're motivated, if you're showing up, they're discouraging you because they don't feel good. I saw with my son, he's 7. This is second graders. And it wasn't anything intentional, but you could just tell my son was conscious about making his friends feel bad because it's A, negative, plus, great job, outstanding job, perfect score, perfect score, perfect score. He needs to be around freaking geniuses. So he can do better. Huh?
They have a school for that. I don't know in Virginia, but Maryland we have.
Can you tell me? Do something good. Somebody else. My wife doesn't know there's schools like that. We're all about public schools. But think about it. Just think about, you know, we're not trying to be better than other people. We're not trying to put people down. We're just trying to reach our potential. Always remember that. We're just trying to take care of the people that we love. We're just trying to have a better lifestyle. For me, I just wanted to change my life. Now, were there some people I wanted to rub it in? Yes. Okay? That's just part of it. Okay? That's an added bonus. Did I ever end up rubbing it in? No. But by the time you win, most of the people, they're not winning, and then you are bigger than that. But if it drives you initially, I don't care. But our motivation and our agendas are 99.9% positive. It's not about putting down other people. No. It's not about judging other people. I never judge people for what they do. But you got to understand, man, somebody's trying to take you off your game, right? 2018 is going to be a big year for us, for our team, right? We got to raise our standards with competition, with bringing people, with punctuality, with self-improvement, with dominating the company, with your production, with your recruiting. And that's going to be our theme for 2018. Okay? It's not going to be a 1-month thing. It's not going to be a 1-week thing. It's raising our standard, right? And I'm all in for it too. I'm excited, and I'm excited for our future for 2018. So before we break, okay, let me just go over some announcements. Number 1, our holiday party is going to be next Saturday. It's not going to be at our house. We're going to do cosmic bowling. Okay, Ricky and I are working on it. It'll be a lot of fun. We'll have some competition. Anybody good bowlers in here? You suck. Huh? Good. Oh, you're a bowler? Okay, all right. It's all right. All right, Jam, I'm holding you to, don't practice, work this week. I know what you do, I know you're trying to, we're gonna do cosmic bowling, we're having a lot of fun. Hold on 1 second.
Okay.
Anybody that qualifies this month at their level, we're gonna do DC Improv, it's gonna be a lot of fun, right? So anybody that has not been invited, that did not qualify for the holiday party, like I said, we wanna be very inclusive. So if you do an app from yesterday to Saturday, you can come, we'll do cosmic bowling, it's gonna be a lot of fun, okay? Ricky and I are working on that now. We're gonna take a break and set a bunch of appointments. It's 11:12. Get with your team, right? Set a bunch of appointments for the next coming week. We'll do our raffle, do our Top Gun, and we'll be back here in a little bit. All right, team up to 1, 2, 3.